What is up everyone and welcome to today's video. It's very similar to a video I did last week, but you guys seem to enjoy this one and I need to carry on doing this sort of thing to clear out my stuff, as you know, so I thought I'd do it again. Now this is a very interesting little PC. It's quite a bit bigger than the HP, but it's still a micro ATX case. It's a larger system though, it's more bulky. And it's an odd system. It seems to be covered in Philips branding. The two optical drives are Philips. It says multimedia by Philips on the front panel, but it's actually badged Eon. So what I'm gonna do, or Ion I guess, a little bit like the lighting desk. But what I'm gonna do is research a little bit online in a minute to see what this is all about, because it might be a sub-brand specifically for a certain retail outlet or something. But anyway, this PC, I don't think I ever showed it on my channel. I showed a few free PCs that I got on my channel, but this was actually an interesting one because it belonged to a guy down the road, and I remember he contacted me about 5 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, to say, look, the hard drive's dead or something had happened, and I remember it had XP on it. So this has actually got a Celeron in it, I believe an Intel Celeron, 2.4 gigahertz, something like that, maybe 512 or a gig of RAM. And I remember giving him a new IDE hard drive that I had laying around, and also installing Windows 7 on it. They bought a Windows 7 Pro license for this, so it ran Windows 7 fine. But what was slowing it down was the graphics. They were using the built-in graphics that were sharing off the main memory, of course. So they actually upgraded the graphics card, and when they upgraded their system entirely, I believe they actually bought a Mac. They gave me the PC, and I've actually got the matching monitor for this upstairs, so I've never shown it to you guys. So this is like taking a look at a free PC that I had a while ago, as well as dismantling it, because this is no good. This case is pretty naff. Well, you know, it's strong enough, but it's just absolutely horrible. So anyway, before I talk your ears off any longer, I'm going to have a little research on Google about this particular brand of computer, see if I can shed any light to it, and yeah, in the meantime, you guys can watch the intro, and then I'll be back in a second, and we'll take a closer look at this PC. So after a little look on Google, it does turn out that Philips do make the odd desktop computer here and there. I'm not sure if they're still around, but it looks like, you know, they were package deals for sort of low spec systems a few years ago. Of course, this is the matching monitor, and it actually says Philips on it. They gave me the monitor too, which was really nice of them actually. I mean, it's not the best monitor in the world, obviously. It's just your old, very early, junky LCD. But for the, you know, the type of monitor that it is quite thin. It's not quite 4:3, I don't think. Looking at the sort of aspect ratio, it's one of the weirder ones, and it looks about 15 inch as well. Sorry about the sirens outside, guys, although I don't know why I'm apologising, there's nothing I can do about it. But anyway, it looks sort of 15 inch, something like that. So, as well, I think now that I'm actually showing the system with the monitor, I'm going to get something that happened in the last video happening again. A couple of people shouted at me for dismantling the system. You know, they were saying, oh, Tom, I could have used that PC. Oh, that PC was ideal for this, that PC was ideal for that. You take it apart, it's a waste, blah, blah, blah. Guys, you know, old PCs like this, you know, it wasn't everyone saying that, just a few people. And to those few people, PCs like this, people pay people to get rid of them. People, there are offices and factories and all sorts of places that just have shed loads of these junky old beige PCs hanging around that they're paying people to get rid of. If you want one of these, or if you want 3 of these, or if you want 10 of these, it is so easy to find them. If you're in the UK, I know FreeCycle is a great place to find free PCs, or even eBay. If you go on eBay, you can find old junky PCs like this in a massive bundle for like 20 or 30 quid with all sorts of stuff. If you really want to play around with this type of hardware, you know, old IDE drives, old motherboards, you know, old sockets, then go for it. But I do apologise if me taking apart these PCs does offend anyone. But, you know, I had comments like, oh, Tom, I could have used that PC. I mean, guys, I'm really sorry. This thing is not worth shipping cost. And it really isn't. But there is a component in here that is. I'll show that to you in a second because I've recently just noticed it. But anyway, I've got the LCD monitor. And of course, LCD monitors don't age like they do PCs, like PCs do, sorry. I mean, you know, it's not the best monitor in the world, but they're there's always someone that can use a flat screen monitor for something. So, you know, that's a different story. We'll take this out of the picture, just bringing it in here for example. But this video is definitely all about the PC. So let's take a closer look in this PC. So on the front panel, we have two optical drives. This bottom one actually looks in really nice condition, and it's also a DVD drive. So we'll take a closer look at that when we get it out. It looks like, even though it's a Philips drive as well, it was like an add-on upgrade, like an optional upgrade probably, because these are a similar type of yellow. This was probably the one built into the system initially. I could be wrong, but maybe this was added in the future. It really does look like it. Then there's a little blank area. There's a floppy drive, so it still has a floppy drive. So we're talking pretty old, guys. And the bezel has actually dropped off the floppy drive, unfortunately. Let's try and cram that back. There we go. I don't know why that would drop off. I've never seen that before, but anyway, then we have some what looks like power lights and stuff over here, and then coming down, if I just move the camera down like so, we have a giant power button, and that is pretty much it. Cool thing is, right on the side of the system, we've got two USB ports, so, you know, some of these older cases still didn't have USB on the front, but, you know, this does. A lot of them do, but lots of them don't as well, so it's cool to see USB there. And it actually reminds me of my AMD Phenom build, my the build that I did in the NZXT Lexer S case, because that's where the ports were on that system, which is actually, in my opinion, a massive pain in the ass. Either be on the front or the top, because, you know, sometimes the side of the PC, that can be away from you. Having said that, it's like that on the Fractal Design Core 1000 that my parents use, and it actually works out okay for them. So yeah, two USBs, pretty snazzy. And on the other side, we just have the Windows XP Home Edition. Help yourself to the serial code, product key, whatever, if you want it. That release is no longer in use if you have a use for Windows XP Home Edition, but I do recommend, if you want to use Windows XP, downloading Professional. Anyway, taking a look at this side, I do not appear to have the side panel. I don't know where the side panel is. It must be somewhere upstairs. I took the first side panel off, the normal side panel, before starting recording this video. I actually have it here, but I do not know where the other side panel is, so that's kind of weird. I don't know where that's gone, but yeah, I guess that just, it is what it is. Now, there's actually a little bit of cobweb and stuff inside this system. It's pretty bad. But it actually looks like an interesting case design. To me, it looks like the motherboard tray is almost removable, but I really don't think it is. So let's flip it round and take a look inside. So fairly standard inside, guys, for one of these older systems. We have a power supply, obviously. Coming over, you can see the arse end of both of the optical drives. Under there, hidden, you probably can't see, I'll try and show you better later on, we have two DIMMs. They're probably, I don't know, guess DDR memory, or maybe even less than that. I'm not too sure, but there's two slots on this motherboard, and they're both full. Over here we have obviously the arse end of the floppy drive. This was where the hard drive was, but it's no longer there. I believe I must have taken the hard drive out. I assume I did anyway, and used it for something else, or just put it away in the drawer or something. I'm not too sure. But coming over here, we have the AGP slot, and this is interesting because if you guys recognize this card, you may understand why it's in this system. And I may have made a video using this system in the past, doubtful, but I may have. I did have a quick search of my channel, and I don't think this system has appeared on my channel before, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to whip out this graphics card right now, and you guys are going to be shocked to see what this is. And I think someone is definitely going to want to buy this off me. Now, it's not worth as much as it could be worth, because the process, let's put it like that then, the process that needs to be done with it has not been completed. I did not successfully complete it. But if I just get my hands over to the tab there on the motherboard, if I can get to it, it's very hard from this angle. And there's a connector right there. This is the trouble. Come on. I can feel the connector. There we go. Here we have it, guys. Unplug the power from the back. There's one Molex power connection. And boom, I haven't held this beauty in a very, very long time. This is the BFG 7800 GS, I believe. And for those of you who don't know, this is the most compatible graphics card, the most powerful and most compatible graphics card that you can put in a Power Mac G4. That's right, folks. This is the legendary 7800 GS, and The only thing that slightly trumps this is the X800 XT that I have in my MDD, mostly because of connectivity on the back. That one has 2 DVI ports, but this, guys, is not flashed yet. As you guys know, I was making videos about flashing it. I was actually reading around comments and I was looking for videos on this card on my channel just to see if I'd shown this PC, and someone said, oh, did you ever flash the card, Tom? And I didn't see the comment, and someone replied saying, nah, you got to get used to this guy, he's full of promises that he doesn't keep. Well, actually, this wasn't a promise that I didn't keep. I was not capable of flashing the card. I just couldn't do it, so I didn't do it, and I haven't messed up the card at all. The card still works, I believe, and it works fine under Windows, so anyone that has the right tools to flash the card, it's not hard to flash. But anyone that has the PCI, I mean, I was always running into BIOS problems and stuff, getting it booting from the right video device, etc, etc. I would have had to spend, I was low on time at the time, and I would have had to spend so much more time doing it. So I just didn't do it, plus someone sent me an X800 XT anyway, so I did not need to do it. But this, guys, this is up for grabs. I'll be selling this. These are rare as rockin' horse poo. This is literally the best card you can put in a Power Mac G4, probably better than the X800 XT, even though it's slightly less, it performs slightly lower. You never notice that in day-to-day tasks, and this is a lot easier to get working properly because it doesn't output as much heat, doesn't require as much power, blah blah blah. This is a beast, and yeah, contact me if you want it. By the way, that's easiest through Twitter or Facebook or emails or whatever. I'll try and keep on top of that stuff, but yeah, guys, this is a beast, and if you've got the patience to flash and stuff, then it is here waiting for you. So here we have the inside of the system, and now that I've taken that gorgeous graphics card out of it, it is pretty much worthless. There's a couple of things in here, but it's really, really old stuff. So let's tip it on its side, just like we did with HP, and start ripping it apart. So the first order of business to get all the cable mess out of the way is to ditch these IDE cables, of course, and also to get the power supply out of the way. Then we can easily unscrew the motherboard, blah blah blah. You guys know the score. So, oh, the bottom DVD player is actually already disconnected. Let me disconnect that. Disconnect that, there's one out, and the floppy cable comes out there, and already the case is much emptier. Now the power supply, unplug the 20 pin. Wow, that's stubborn, that's been in there a while. Yeah, that's definitely a 20 pin. And also there is a 4 pin over here. So this is older than the HP system, guys. We're talking 20 pin stuff, so a little bit older. There's a rogue screw there, don't know where that, oh, that came from the PCI section, of course it did. Now one of the cool things that I'm getting out of all these PCs, guys, is the screws. Screws are actually very handy, and it's amazing how many times I've gone to get screws for some specific thing from Maplin's or whatever because I don't have enough hanging around. But you know, I try and feel like I'm doing the world a favour while stripping these PCs. Now there's a different story between stripping this one and stripping the previous one. With this one, I have actually got a lot of uses in mind, believe it or not. I'm ditching the case because the case is nasty and it takes up a lot of space. But, as you guys know, the Power Hack G4 project is actually coming along nicely, in terms of planning anyway. Sorry about this, guys, I'm struggling here a bit. In terms of planning, and what I've decided to do is get the case all in order before ordering any components, just in case the case takes me a while. And I've decided that what I'm going to do is test fit a Micro ATX system in the case. I don't care what it is, but this one, because it works, I know this system works, I will be test fitting this in my case. So I'll be using this PSU and also this motherboard and CPU and stuff, so I'm going to leave the CPU and RAM in place on the board. And I'll be using it to test fit my G4 case. So, no one can shout at me for not finding a use for this system. And of course, another thing, Christ, this system's pretty dirty, guys. Another thing is, let me just yank these out. I want to salvage a couple of these front panel connectors because I'm going to solder up my own front panel system. So I am literally going to snip these right there and steal a load of this wiring, and I'm going to sleeve some myself. I need these little connectors and stuff. So that is a plan that I have.
even though these are all doublers by the looks of it, and I want some singles as well. But hopefully there'll be some laying around in there, and I've got other PCs to strip anyway. So I'll be stripping that out of the case, so it's not all bad, guys. So let me see if I can get you a better angle for me taking the motherboard out. So it's time to get this motherboard out of the way. And it's interesting, this rear case fan is plugged in all the way down there. I'll actually get the case fan out of the way first. And it's also got one of these little audio cables that connects the motherboard to the optical drive. Something that really doesn't happen anymore these days. But let's just get this rear case fan out of the way. Oh wow, it's got little caps over the screws on the other end. That's really odd. Yeah, I can't actually remove that at the moment, guys. I'm not sure how that would remove. That is pretty odd. Let's get the motherboard out first then. It's not as if we're stuck for space in this case. I'm actually going to use a little bit of a smaller screwdriver just to really get in here. Now it's actually quite difficult, guys. The screws are quite a bit smaller on this board. Oh, come on. Oh, man, that was hard. What the hell was keeping this in? That was definitely one of the hardest ones I've done. Well, after all that excitement, it's time to do something a little bit simpler, and that is take out the DVD drives. So this is fairly straightforward. Well, it wasn't in the last case. There's always something in there to catch you out. But that motherboard is just... man, that didn't want to come out. It's bonkers. Really didn't want to come out. We have one optical drive, the one that looks the nicer out of the two. Although now that it's out of the case, it doesn't look that nice really. It's a Philips drive, like I've mentioned. It's got a big Chinese label on it. We'll take a closer look at those afterwards. And of course, there are a couple more drives to come out. There is the other optical drive, which looks like the one that would have been in here as default from the factory. There's the other optical drive. Looks like a pile of junk these days. And of course we have one more friend to come out, and that is Mr. Floppy. And this poor guy, at least the optical drives, may have a hope in hell of having some kind of use in the future, maybe-ish. This poor guy is pretty much bin material these days, guys, as I'm sure you're aware. Poor guy. Although, not quite the case if you're using... this is not going to come out because it needs unscrewing from the other side, but to do so I have to remove the entire cage. That's okay, I don't mind this design. You know, the hard drive and floppy drive cages that do this, I really don't mind them, as long as they do behave for me. And that involves taking out all of the screws. Whoops. Okay, and the floppy drive cover was actually holding it on, so that was holding it on the front. Now we have this cage out, we'll deal with that later. And we have pretty much a bare system, which is now very lightweight. Now all I've got to do is try and figure out how the hell to take this fan off. Well guys, I got the damn fan out. Interesting mounts actually. I got all four out in a different way. So here's one here. These sort of silent rubbery type things, and I basically just mangled them with a pair of snips to get them out. So now, talking of snips, if we move the camera into this direction with my pro camera work, I want all of this stuff basically, which are the power LED and everything LED and power switch and all this. So if I give that a yank out of there and give this a yank, perfect. These are basically what I want. I want these cables and I want these connectors on the end, which is cool because I'll need to salvage a few of these to do a few different things with my Power Mac project, which I'm very much looking forward to. So I'll keep these safe, and of course I won't have minging horrible wires like this dangling around in my Power Mac case. I'll sleeve them all nicely and stuff. So to me, what seems like the most worthless part of the case is actually the most important part for me. Now all I've got to do is take Mr. Floppy out of the enclosure by undoing his one last screw here. So that's the floppy out of the way. Here's the drive cage. pretty cool mount actually. It swings in and out of place. I remember that from when I installed their drive. Here's the floppy drive. Not much to them when the front bezel's broken off, so I'll put that to one side. And this is the case. Now, to clarify a couple of things from the last video, these cases are not going to waste, guys. I'm actually scrapping these cases properly, so everything gets melted down and used again. All the metal, all the plastic, all gets separated, so you never know. If you buy a computer in 3 or 4 years' time, bits of my melted down systems may actually be in yours, although they could be used for all sorts of different things. Time is up for this PC, guys, and it's a shame to see these old systems go, but they're really not worth anything. The I/O shield did not take well to being taken out of the case. Everything in this case was a little bit stiff, so that needs a little bit of attention before I use it. But as you guys know, as I explained, I'll be using this motherboard to test out my Quicksilver modifications that I do, because the CPU and the RAM and everything works fine. We have a very bunged up case fan here, looks to be 80mm, very bunged up and awful. Power supply, nothing special about this one at all. Couple of burners, well, a couple of CD drives, floppy drive, loads of screws. And then if we look at the floor, sorry it's a bit dark down here, guys. We got the drive cage, we got the PC tower case. This is going, but we do have a collection of IDE and floppy cables, which will come in handy. They really won't, I'm only kidding, guys. We've got this audio cable thing. This looks pretty interesting. I may keep it for the cabling. And then down here we've got what I really wanted, and this is power switch and LED wires for my Quicksilver, because I'm not going to use the original ribbon cable like a lot of people do for various reasons. So that is that, guys. That is stripping out this Philips PC. This monitor, I will be getting rid of it, but I won't be chucking it. That'll be going. I've got someone that's interested in all 3 of my monitors, actually. This is one of them, the ones that I'm getting rid of. I got a lot of junky ones upstairs, but that is it. I've stripped out another PC. I've saved a load of space, and there are still a couple more PC towers up there, guys, so expect some more of these videos. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I'm sorry that it's very similar to the one last week, but this one's a little different because we've never actually looked at this system before, so it makes it quite exciting. And of course, obviously, I have the 7800 down here in all its glory. If you guys are interested, you know what to do. It's a gorgeous card, but yeah, this has been quite a fun video to make. I love stripping out these machines. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Of course, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't, and explain why in the comment section. I look forward to hearing your feedback as always. And of course, I will see you in tomorrow's video.